Hey guys, welcome back to LegitStreetCars and welcome to the teardown of our 5.4 liter supercharged SVT Lightning engine. In this video, oh, look at this. That's nice. This might be why we have so much oil in the intake. But anyway, in this video, we're gonna completely tear down this engine and get to the bottom of what's going on with the cylinder heads. Does it have one new head? Are they the 8th thread? Are they the 4th thread? What happened to the head gaskets? We're tearing it all down, and we're probably gonna find a lot of stuff to replace while we're in there, like this hose. Ford, what kind of design were you going for here? So a torn PCV hose at the top, no big deal, but look at where this thing leads. This is a horrible design. This is all mushy. If this failed with the cab and engine put together, it'd be a total nightmare to replace. And wow, look at all the oil that came out of that line just by disconnecting it. This is really bad. I'm thinking catch can. And look at all the oil that's in the throttle body too. This could foul out plugs. This is just no good. No good at all. This wasn't even making a proper seal and we have this much oil in the intake. All right, I'm done ripping on Ford's PCV system here. We gotta get straight to work tearing this engine apart. And if you like an automotive YouTube channel that works on cars and gets straight to working on cars, then consider subscribing to the channel. I was looking at analytics and only 37% of you who consistently watch my videos are subscribed. So if you have a free 1 second, hit the subscribe button. This channel could be a lot bigger. But anyway, with that, I think we should just start at the top. All right, so I already have the exhaust manifolds off, and we have this EGR tube right here that I'm gonna wanna remove here from the intake. And you guys know I'm a big fan of using penetrating oil pretty much everywhere on these Midwest vehicles, although this one's in pretty good shape, but better safe than sorry. You know, those exhaust manifold bolts came out real nice and easy though, so we'll probably be okay. All right, so I like putting bolts right back where they belong, although I'm gonna consider an EGR delete since we're gonna be doing the long tube headers on this. So let's just get rid of this. Look at that, goodbye. Wow, that right away just kind of cleans up this whole area. What else do we have that we can get rid of? All right, so it looks like here is our controller for the EGR system. It's attached to this bracket that has 2 other solenoids, a sensor, and we're gonna remove this whole bracket, I think, in one shot. So let's start disconnecting. And I have taken pictures of everything. I do that before I start tearing any engine apart, especially if you're waiting on parts for a couple of weeks. You will forget, and you wanna get the routing of all this kind of stuff perfect so it doesn't look like a hack job under the hood. And sometimes it's just like, does this run over here or does it run under here? You know, little stuff like that, little details. If you can get that right, it's just that much better of a job. There's our vacuum line going to the fuel pressure regulator. Then we have this whole entire system right here. These are all in excellent condition, by the way. Good job, Ford. If this was a European car, these would all be brittle and cracking all over the place. So bad PCV, good vacuum lines. Looks like just a couple of 13s. Look at that. Wow, that's clean. Kind of wish we could get rid of all of this stuff. All right, and then we're putting all these parts in order on the table from when we took them off. So these are the first parts we took off, and then as we go further on down the table, eventually we'll have cylinder heads over in this area here. And then that way, when we're going back together, that's the first stuff that goes on, and we know to go down the table. Nuts and bolts are getting labeled in whatever kind of bag we can find, fan shroud, because you gotta stay organized. My bedroom, when I was growing up, not organized at all. But engines, that's where it clicked for me. Seriously, Ford, great job on the vacuum connections. Not everything you build is built Ford tough, but this is Ford tough. This is great. All right, next up, we're gonna remove this upper plenum. And you can leave this on with the supercharger, but I may send the supercharger out to get ported. And at the very least, if I don't do that, I wanna replace this gasket just because it's probably really old. That's easy. This is crazy. Guys, let me know in the comment section if you have an SVT Lightning. Is there this much oil in here? Wow. And is that a bypass valve down there? See that guy? All right, let's get this blower off. And a couple people had mentioned that it was a lot of work to take the cab off and that you could just do this job with the engine in, and you definitely can. But you see what's going on here, guys? Like, what you're seeing is in pretty real time right now. It's gonna take us like maybe 5 minutes to get the intake and the supercharger off with all the vacuum lines and keeping it nice and organized and not breaking anything. So. Some of you guys in the comments had mentioned that this was gonna need a cleaning, and just look at this. So nasty. This cannot be good for performance at all. So we'll definitely be cleaning the intercooler and the intake and everything. All right, we're moving straight along here. I wanna get this intake manifold off, and I'm getting progressively more scared as we go along to see what we're gonna find. All right, there we go. Okay. All right, so we're gonna take the fuel rail off with the injectors and everything. So we're just disconnecting all the harnesses right now. We got our injector harnesses right here. And let's just hit these coil ones too. We gotta get the power steering reservoir bracket out of the way. I gotta say, these fine-tooth sonic ratcheting wrenches are a lifesaver. So good. I gotta say, guys, this ain't no LS, all right? This ain't no LS. This is very difficult to work on compared to an LS. I mean, look what we got to do just to get the valve cover off. There's no room whatsoever. Like if this was in the cab, this looks like a total nightmare just to remove the valve cover. I love SVT Lightnings, but I don't know if we can trick ourselves into thinking that this in any way, shape, or form was better than an LS. I don't think I could do it. All right, let's get these harnesses out of the way. That's beautiful. This guy out of the way too. Look at this. Look at this coil right here. I mean, come on. All right, so we should be able to get this out because it's kind of flexible. Whatever. I'm probably gonna do new wires and whatnot on this anyway. And half of these coils are XL, half of them are something else, either factory or aftermarket. And wait till you see these spark plugs. Ford, come on, dude. Ridiculous. No problem, Ford. With the engine in the cab, I'll just spend 3 hours getting this one coil out. I'm just exaggerating, Ford guys. Simmer down. I know you can do this coil in 3 minutes because you've just been working on Lightnings for the last 20 years. There we go. Okay. All right, so we gotta pop these fuel rails off. And that requires a special tool. Fits in there. There we go. And pushes this little spring clip inside. And in case you guys are wondering, yes, these connection points are supposed to have something like this that kind of locks it on, but they weren't on there. So apparently you don't need these. We'll definitely be putting them back though. All right, there's the other one. Cool. There we go. So I might replace the thermostat again if it's all crusty. Does it look crusty? Yeah, it's not good. Alternator bracket. All right, intake is about ready to come off. Just gonna soak these bolts for a few minutes. Oh yeah, these are real nice and easy. Normally you don't need penetrating oil on intake manifold bolts. Oh, and if any of you Lightning guys or Ford guys are offended by me making fun of the difficulty of getting to certain things on this engine, don't worry. I make fun of everything. I'm an LS guy, I'm a Mercedes guy. I literally make videos on factory defects from all of the companies. So I'm an equal opportunity roaster. I roast them all. But I also give credit to where credit is due. These things sound absolutely amazing. The transmissions were okay, and obviously the looks. This is an iconic truck. I mean, I love the Lightning. I paid like 19 grand for one with bad head gaskets, all right? I'm invested for sure. This is a dream truck of mine, flaws or not. God, it is so nice working on an engine like this, let me tell you. What do we have? Oh, these things are so crusty. I cleaned these up too a few videos ago. And this thermostat has already been replaced. I'm sure it's fine. I'm just hoping we don't see a lot of this nastiness inside of the coolant jackets of the block. All right, here's what lies beneath the intake. Looks like we have a pistachio that a rodent friend didn't know how to properly open and just chewed through the side. But you never thought you were gonna be cracked in half like that, pistachio shell. All right, going a little crazy here. Here's our knock sensor and nice gasket. Wow, this is sweet. Oh, and a random nut. An old nut that's about to fall into our cylinder. Be careful, guys. Look at that. No idea what this is for, but apparently someone's been in here before. All right, let's take a look at some of these valves. That looks very shiny. Wow. Are you kidding me? That is the cleanest valve outside of a brand new valve I've ever seen. So right now we're on the driver's side. This is the head that was stamped with the 03 that I suspected might have been replaced. And are you kidding me? That looks perfect. Wow. Literally all the valves look brand new. Here's another one. Amazing. Now, something I did figure out from the last video was someone saw the VIN somewhere in one of my videos, I guess, and they ran the VIN at the Ford dealership, and the engine was replaced, but it was back in 2002 at 409 miles. The complaint was a noise, and it was coming from the bottom end, and Ford just replaced the entire engine. So it does have a new engine, but you know, within months of it being delivered originally back in 2002. So I don't have any other warranty history past that as to a head being replaced. Yeah, this is getting kind of weirder as we go along. These valves should definitely not be that clean. I mean, I know it's not direct injected, it's port injected, but still, these seriously look just shiny and new. All right, guys, we are gonna borescope. I wanna show you how clean these valves are. There we go. I mean, look at the guide. It just looks freshly machined. And the valve itself is so clean. Even if we go up close, there's basically no deposits whatsoever. And here's another valve. Every single one of these is just as clean as the next, and so are the intake runners. I wouldn't even need to do any cleaning at all. Look at this. All right, guys, next up, we got to remove all of these accessories off of the front of the engine, including this gigantic bracket here with our pulleys. Hey, it's made in Canada. What do you know about that? You know that's accurate, Canadians. You know it. I think we only have 2 10s for the alternator. Yeah, that's fancy. Look at that. They make it. Wow, Ford. Ford, great job on the bottom of the alternator. Phenomenal work. And here's what our table of parts is looking like so far. We're about to bump up a step here to this one, but we're getting there. We got a front timing cover. We got valve covers. We got heads. Yeah. Oh, this is really nice. Top dead center. I think that says before top dead center, 10 degrees or something. I don't know, we'll clean these up. Oh, and look at that. Looks like we're pretty close too. See the little notch right there? I gotta say, this is a pretty large engine. I'm definitely thinking we should get rid of the clutch fan. Just get an electric fan. That is one modification I definitely like making, because not only does the clutch fan rob you of power, it sounds horrible. You want to actually hear the engine, not a bunch of wind. This is, there we go. Okay. Is our bigger crank pulley in the way? It is. Okay, so this is actually a larger crank pulley for more boost. Come on now. Shimmy off. Okay, all right, we did it. All right, so with that out of the way, we can do one of these. I said, with that out of the way, we can do one. Oh, don't embarrass me, water pump pulley. Yeah. All right, so we're gonna get this water pump out of the block. This will begin to tell us how rusted it's gonna be inside. Got a Ford stamp on there, so could be the original water pump. Yes. It's a boy. This is one beefy water pump, man. Like, this thing is legit. Like, I'm gonna get a couple of these and it'd be cheaper than getting dumbbells. This is in great shape though. No play whatsoever. I don't know if I'm gonna replace this. Probably gonna replace it. Yeah, okay, but the coolant doesn't look too bad. Check this out. Yeah, I mean, we flushed it like 50 times, so it's not horrible. All right, let's get some valve covers off. We have to move this dipstick out of the way, and I already got the transmission one out of the way. All right, driver's side valve cover coming off. All right, looks like they did oil changes. Looks really good, super clean. Beautiful. These cams look to be in great shape. Awesome. Okay, so I forgot I wanted to pull the plugs. This one here, I have not broken this free. It was this loose. That is bad. So were the threads coming out of this guy? Is that why it's loose? I thought it was just really loose, like I was spinning the plug, but I'm not. I think someone just mangled this thing. Look, this guy goes in here, and it locks in. In here, it doesn't. In here, there's no spark plug. Okay, I took that one out. But in here, yeah, it locks in too. All right, well, we don't have to take the plugs out right now. I just wanted to make it easier to spin the motor over, so we'll figure out what's going on there after we get the head off. So let's just take out as many as we can. We were getting a misfire from one bad plug before, and I didn't swap the rest of them, but yeah, the gap's kind of big on there. Just overall, just nasty, nasty spark plugs. Woo! Oh yeah. Ooh! All right. They're water-cooled spark plugs. Oh, this one's nice. Look at that. Oh, that's the one I replaced. That's the one that was misfiring in that video. So that's new. Okay, so we'll mess with timing, obviously, when we're going back together. But I just kind of want to get it close. And so, let's see, where are we at? Top dead center. Okay, that is not where we need to be. We need to go around one more time. Okay, so that is top dead center right here with that mark. And yeah, we're looking good. So just generally speaking, this camshaft sprocket should be in the 11 o'clock position. And this one, I think they said is supposed to be at the 1 o'clock. We'll verify this, obviously. But at least we're in the ballpark right now, or exactly where it needs to be. All right, next up we have the Harmonic Balancer, which looks to be in great shape. You can see the rubber here is intact, not coming out like a lot of the Mercedes I work on. So we had to get a little creative here with our puller because it didn't have the right bolts. So I found 3 different bolts that I had laying around the shop, some random washers, which are actually just nuts to space that out. And yeah, this should work. All right, so now we just need to turn this guy here. There we go, it just popped. That's probably hard to see on camera, but this is pulling out a little bit from the timing cover, so we'll see more space in between here. Woo! There we go, it's coming out. There we go. Balancer is off. All right, let's get this huge hose out of the way. We'll just shimmy this guy right down here for now. Just want to get good access to the power steering pump. I got the last bolt here for the power steering pump. All right, get this out of the way. All right, guys, so I took the 4 bolts from the bottom that attach the oil pan to the front timing cover out already. And now we just need to remove the rest of the bolts to get this gigantic thing off. And this is definitely something you're going to want to pay attention to because it looks like we have normal washers and in some cases some spacers. So we're just going to leave this stuff where it came from for now. And I like to literally put stuff right back just so we don't have to think about it later. And these guys down here are 22 mils. So we're dealing with 13s, 18s, and 22s for the front timing cover. All right, that's the last one. I know I got them all this time. This thing is ready to just fall out of here. There we go. Nice and easy. This is a really nice seal, so we don't have to deal with scraping off any gasket or anything. That is awesome. I love when they do that. Another good job, Ford. So I was just looking on the guides here, and we can see the manufacturing date, December of 2001. So original for sure. This one is 1 of 2002, slightly newer. But yeah, overall, in really good shape. Nothing is cracked. This is beautiful. I know a lot of Audi, Volkswagens, BMWs that would kill to have these guides after 21 years. These are in great condition. Another one, Ford, another one. You're doing pretty good at this point, all right? The coils get in the way of stuff, not cool. The head gasket failure, you know, also not cool. The EGR in the back, not cool. The PCV system that basically doesn't work, not cool. I think that's it. I don't know. Name some more stuff down there that's not cool that Ford has done here. The 4 threads, that's right. Bad idea, Ford. You'd only been building engines for over 100 years at this point. Why would you go to 4 threads, especially on the Lightning? Because they had this issue with the regular non-boosted Tritons, and they're like, let's strap a supercharger on it and not do anything about the threads for the spark plugs. Just like they have to know. They have to know this stuff is going to cause an issue, right? I mean, there's testing. Like what? I don't know. Anyway, I'm just a mechanic. So I'm really curious to see the condition of these guides once we get them off to see if the chain wore into them at all. That was kind of an issue with these. And these chain tensioners also had an oil leaking issue as well. But I wasn't experiencing any issues with this engine, no weird noises or anything like that. So they should be good. At this point, let's take this guy off right here. And something to note is this keyway right here on the crank is right at the 12 o'clock position. So when we put the balancer on top dead center and got this guy to roughly the 11 o'clock position and this one to about the 2 o'clock position, this goes straight up. So it's just another kind of guide when you're reassembling that this needs to be in the 12 o'clock position when you go back together with the timing chain. But anyway, at this point, we need to lock our cams in place with this tool that I just picked up off of Amazon. Okay, so basically this tool is gonna go like so. And then this guy is gonna go right here. And then we have a couple of bolts that are gonna go all the way through and thread into the bottom portion. Okay, so you just get them started here by hand like that. And basically these two legs are gonna rest on the top of the cylinder head where the valve cover would normally bolt to. And then we're just gonna go ahead and tighten these down. Okay, that's not cool. This is supposed to clamp down with the bottom one. We have to get a little creative. This was the cheap version of this tool on Amazon. So we basically need some washers in there, some big ones. So we're just gonna use some nuts right here just to space it out. So that is courtesy of the Subaru Outback project. Had some leftover hardware. So we're using it to make our own custom version of this tool. I think this tool was only like 15 or 20 bucks. It should do the job. They have way more expensive versions that probably don't require you to use 2 rusted nuts to make it work. But, you know, it's a budget build. All right, we'll snug it up. I'm locking the center of the camshaft because we have this lip here that just gives us a little bit more meat for the tool to rest on. And the entire reason we're locking the camshaft in the first place is because once we remove this tensioner here and relieve all of the pressure from the chain, this cam will spring back due to valve spring pressure. And we don't want it to kick back violently and open a valve that shouldn't be open. And then also once we get the chain off, you don't want to spin this cam around because your valve events in relationship to the piston are going to be way off. So you don't want a piston that's all the way at top dead center with valves that are opening when they're not supposed to. You can cause a lot of engine damage that way. So not all engines are set up interference like this one, but many of them are interference, and we're gonna need that tool when we go to reassemble anyway to hold. That did not feel like 4 stages of head torque, but I don't know. So once they're loosened up, we can just go crazy here with the gun. And the reason we're following that reverse torque spec sequence is pretty much the same reason why they're torqued in sequence to begin with. And that's especially with aluminum heads, you don't want to warp them. So the manufacturer gives you a torque sequence and a torque spec, of course, so you don't mess things up. But anyway, another nice thing with this camshaft holding tool is it's a sweet head holding tool. Okay, yeah. We're gonna make a mess. Making a mess. I love aluminum heads. They're so light. We don't really have a lot of time to work out, so we have to use car parts. If you guys follow me on Instagram and on Facebook, we post up short reels of working out with car parts. So most of this coolant filled in there when we pulled the head. This isn't actually what happened here with the blown head gasket. But let's see if we can figure out what did happen here with this blown head gasket. So a lot of times, you can physically see it. It's right in front of your face. And let's just go around here and feel them. And yeah, there we go. That is your blown head gasket. Wow, this is brutal. Look at that, it's completely separated. Glad we're doing these, that's for sure. Let's take this guy out. Okay, I'm just checking the surface here on the block. It looks really nice and smooth. Okay, so nothing was damaged there. And we'll suck this coolant out and get a better look at our pistons too. So this is what a head gasket should look like, very intact. And this is what it shouldn't look like. Hello. This is a blown MLS head gasket, multi-layer steel head gasket. Look at that carnage. This is sweet. Wow. Yeah. So this is a 3-layer head gasket right here. I'm not gonna say it's necessarily the fault of the head gasket. This is probably a decent head gasket. It could have been that they weren't torqued down properly. This also could have been just from a bad tune. So my Lightning had a larger crankshaft pulley installed, which increases boost pressure, which also increases temperature, which makes the engine more susceptible to detonation, especially if the tune isn't spot on, if it's not reducing ignition timing like it should. This also could have happened because of improper heat range spark plugs. So I think this had the factory heat range spark plugs. They were all in pretty rough shape as well. So that can cause a hot spot, especially with the increased temperature from more boost, and that can cause detonation. Bad fuel can cause detonation. We're running more boost with factory exhaust manifolds, and that creates a lot of heat as well. So that's why I'm a big fan of long tubes on supercharged applications. So a lot could have gone into this blown head gasket, and no matter what, I'm definitely gonna get the tune checked after we put everything back together so this doesn't happen again. So far, so good on the block side, but that's to be expected. It is an iron block. But these aluminum heads, they can get damaged. But in this case, this is where the head gasket blew. It seems perfectly fine. The combustion chambers all across the board here look to be in great shape. Oh, and how many threads do we have? This doesn't look like 4, I'll tell you that much. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8. We have 8 thread heads, or 1 8-thread head. But I'm gonna go ahead and say the other one has 8 threads too, because that's the driver side that has the 03 stamped into it, the date code. And that's the one that looked like it had 8 threads when we borescoped it. So we might have already gotten the upgraded heads, which this could all make sense because the person that commented who looked up the VIN said that the entire engine was replaced at 400 miles, but he didn't tell me the date. And this is a 2002, so had this thing sat around at the dealer or they just didn't drive it much in the beginning, it could have been 2003 when they had released the new engines with the new heads and I think a couple other improvements. So we could have a 2003 Lightning engine from the factory in a 2002. All right, guys, we're gonna suck that coolant out here in a minute and see what's going on with those pistons, but I can't wait. I wanna see how many threads this one has for the spark plugs, just to verify we have 2 new heads. So I already have that cam locked. All right, so let's get our tensioner out of here. There we go. And our guide, that is in excellent condition. If anyone knows this, comment down below, but when they fixed the cylinder head issue by adding the 8 threads, did they also update the timing chain guides? Because these are definitely original and just in great shape. I was not expecting this at all. And pop this chain off as well. And we have a Ford stamp here on the oil pump. Thinking about upgrading the oil pump while we're in here. So again, guys, let me know what's a good oil pump to get on one of these, or do we just run the factory one and call it a day? And guide number 2 on this side. A couple of 8s. And this one's looking pretty too. Let's just see what we can figure out here. I have my torque wrench set to 60 foot-pounds. All right, so we're getting a click at 60. Just go up a little bit more. Here is 70 foot-pounds. I'm turning the bolt there. So it's not actually clicking because we've hit the torque. So let's go down to 65. Yep. So you figure these head bolts are torqued down to about 65 foot-pounds. That does not seem like enough to me. This isn't an exact science because the torque spec, I believe, is torque it down to 30 and then 2 90-degree rotations. These are torque to yield bolts that need to be replaced, but they don't feel right to me. So it's possible that they just weren't torqued down all the way, and that's what caused the head gasket issue on that side. So let's take these off and see what's going on here. I'm curious if we have 2 blown head gaskets. I have a short 3/8 ratchet here, and I'm breaking these free, these middle ones, because this is kind of in the way. So I need something smaller. There we go. I don't know why I left the head bolts in that head when I took it off. I was just too excited, kind of jumped the gun there. I normally take the head bolts out before I remove a head, but we got a ton of room here. Just gonna leave them in, just being impatient. right. So far, so good. I like it. Okay, so the head gasket came with the head, and so far, it's looking pretty good in here. Obviously, we have a little bit of rust that you can see, but overall, I think we're gonna be okay. I don't think we'd need to send the block out to get cleaned or anything like that. And all this dirt is just for me lifting it off. That's nothing. But the pistons look great. The block so far looks great. We still have to get a straight edge on the block and the cylinder heads to be sure, but don't suspect any block issues, that's for sure. And maybe we do some new engine mounts while we're here as well. All right, so here we go. Here is the head gasket on the driver's side. I don't know what I want to look at first. Threads for spark plugs or blown head gasket carnage? I don't know. These are good problems to have, kind of. Bad problems? These are bad problems. These are bad problems to have. Okay, yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with this head gasket. It looks totally fine. I don't see any spots where it broke free. No, overall, the driver's side is good. And again, no science to this, but that side did seem slightly tighter than the other side. It took me a little bit more force to break those free. I still thought it wasn't as much as it should be, but I'm pretty sure it was torqued a little bit more than the other side. But anyway, we're looking good. Let's count some threads. All right, I can already tell. These are gonna be 8 thread. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 thread heads. Sweet. Gonna figure out how to get this spark plug out. All right, I got all the coolant out on this side. And as expected, the cylinders look great. No issues at all here with the block so far. Looking really nice. The pistons aren't even that dirty, although you can see the one with the blown head gasket is definitely cleaner than the others because it was ingesting water, and it turns to steam and cleans the carbon off the pistons. So if you have water or methanol injection, you guys know all about that. Makes your engine look nice and pretty inside. But yeah, we're looking really good here. And here's how we're looking as far as parts on the tables. There we go. This is it. So now when we go back together, we'll just go back together in reverse order. Heads first, timing cover, valve covers, and yada, yada, yada. All right, guys, so we've disassembled the entire engine. I have a lot of cleaning to do, and I have to order a ton of parts. So I'm gonna walk around with a clipboard and piece of paper right now and just write down every tiny little gasket, nut, bolt, whatever that we need to get this engine completely assembled, and drop some comments down below as to some other parts that I should replace while I'm in there. So in the next video, we'll start building this thing right back up with some new parts, and I hope all of you will join me for that episode. So with that, if you enjoyed this video, give it a big thumbs up, share the video with your friends, subscribe if you haven't already, and most importantly, have an awesome day. I'll catch all of you in the next video.